Hi again, everyone. So, it's been a while since I uploaded anything. Basically, with lockdown and everything else, had a bit of a meltdown, but hey, I'm sure I'm not the only one. Nonetheless, I've had a few people interested in seeing how I made my Mandalorian costume. As you can see, there's some pictures of it at the Mo, which I did prior to my approval for Mandalorian Mercs Costume Club, so I'll also go through the changes after this. But the next bit that I'm going to talk about is the rest of the waist items, specifically the camera and the loincloth. Now, a requirement is to either have a hard codpiece or a soft loincloth. I went for the soft loincloth because honestly I didn't want something kind of solid and potentially uncomfortable for sitting cross-legged or anything. And I think it looks quite nice, although next time I might go for an armoured loincloth, which is kind of a halfway between the two. So without further ado, let's get into how I made them. With the sash and the belt rig done, I'm going to work on the last waist item, which will be the waist cape as they call it, or butt cape as I've always called it, and the loincloth. Because I'm kind of making the colour scheme up as I go along, I've literally just pulled fabric from my stash and I'm just draping it on the dummy. So I think I want purple for the waist cape, and I've been torn between a few colours for the loincloth, but I'm thinking kind of purpley blue goes well. Now, for the waist cape itself, really importantly, although it looks like it hangs quite straight, you actually need to make sure that it kind of comes out from the waist, so waist, and then make it wider at the bottom. Especially for curvy people, that helps make sure you actually get decent coverage, otherwise it can look really small. And I think I'm going to give it some nice edging in a similar colour to this. It's going to be quite a simple one. I'm going to just measure my waist size, cut out the two bits, cut out some edging, sew them together, and go from there. So here's how I'm patterning the waist cape. My waist is 33 inches, plus 3 inches to give some room for Velcro. Now, of the actual 33 inches, there needs to be a gap in the middle, and a gap at the front. And the gap at the front, we want to be big enough for the loincloth, so I'm carefully measuring where roughly I want the loincloth to be. And I think I want there to be about 7 inches gap there, so that would be 3.5 on either side. And then at the back, I don't want such a big gap, I probably only want 4 inches or so. So then we've got 4 and 3.8, 3.5, 4 plus 7, mental maths, 11. Meaning that of our 33, on these sections, it's 22, meaning that we want these to be 11 each, which gives us the top measurement of our actual waist bit. And then the rough length I want is probably no more than about 14 inches. And to give it a bit of variation, a bit of flare out, I'll probably want to add maybe 5 or 6 inches by the time we get here. So if I go for that being 17, then we've got the rough size, and then from there I can decide if I want to make them pointed, give them rounded corners, or give them a more hexagonal shape, or whatever. So with the big panels cut out, and the edging strips cut out and sewn back together at the corners, it's just time to sew them together all around the edges, and then prepare to sew them together and flip them inside out. And I've just got to find the right one that actually goes the right way around. No. Now, for sewing them together, I'm going to start at the corners and sew out from each corner. Obviously this is a problem because we've got 2 corners, but I'm going to start at the sharper corner and then try and ease it perfectly to the other corner. And with all 4 with the edging strips sewn on, it's simply a case of getting the opposing pairs, lying them flat, together, right sides together, as always when sewing for neatness. And I'm just going to pin. I've lost all my pins. Well, I'm just going to pin around the edge sew it very neatly, very close to the edge. And then when they're turned inside out, they'll be lovely and neat. Hey, pins! That's another thing I have. Take 2. Okay, with those turned inside out, ironed, and then a bit of top stitching for stability, I think they're ready to go on a waistband once I've done the loincloth. Now the loincloth has to be a bit sturdier, so I'm using this nice coloured cotton for the front, but I'm going to back it with a faux leather to make it a bit heavier and more substantial. Now I've got this scrap that's about the size I need, and I'm just going to fold it in half, figure out how wide I want the top and the bottom. Probably about there on the top, and probably there on the bottom, and then just draw a design to have a nice shape. I think I want it to be slightly curved, a diamond shape. With my shape cut out, I'm going to get my leather and just pin it loosely onto there. Now I'm just going to cut roughly around this and stitch it through on the machine. We'll be finishing the edges with bias binding in a mo. This is the closest colour bias binding I have to the fabric that I used to edge the rest, so that's what I'm going to go for. I'm going to unfold the top edge, stitch it on, and I'm going to start from the top and just go around and leave probably the top blank because that's going to be sewn into a waistband anyway. Then in a mo I'll fold it over and hand sew it on the back. And with the various flaps attached to the waistband, that is our waist items. We've got the sash, we've got the flaps, the camera and loincloth, and the ammo belt. Whee! I'm probably going to have to change up the belt a bit, make room for a holster at some point. Everything else I'm pretty happy with. And I'm just going to stop myself there. While I was happy with it at the time, there are always improvements that could be made to these kind of outfits. Even by this stage, where I was just doing a fun photo shoot, as you can see, I've pulled the camera back around further, so they don't kind of hide all of the leg. This helped make it so that the holster was more accessible when I did make that. It made it look less like a full skirt, and it meant that there was some overlap at the back, which covered my bottom a little better for sitting and such. I made further changes specifically to the loincloth when I went for approvals, but I'll kind of detail that more towards the end of the video series when I talk about the approval process. Other than that, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll be getting the other ones up shortly. And yeah, please do check out my social media and that as well. Thanks. Bye!